Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today we are stripping away the myths of human origins to look at a ghost that has haunted paleoanthropology for over 60 years. We are talking about Homo habilis. For decades, this species has existed in the scientific imagination largely as a phantom, a creature constructed from fragments and wishful thinking. Since Louis and Mary Leakey first announced the Handy Man to the world in 1964, this enigmatic species has served as the crucial bridge, the hypothetical link between the ape-like Australopithecines and the undeniably human Homo erectus. Yet, for all its fame, Homo habilis has remained stubbornly elusive. Its identity was built on scattered teeth, a shattered skull known as OH24, a primitive jaw labeled OH7, and a handful of limb fragments that raised far more questions than they answered. Was it truly the first human? Did it still climb trees like its ancestors? Or did it stride across the savanna with the confident gait of modern man? For decades, paleoanthropologists have debated these questions in a vacuum of evidence, forced to extrapolate an entire creature from a few handfuls of bone. That era of speculation ended on a Tuesday in January 2026. The unveiling of KNM-ER 64061, the most complete Homo habilis skeleton ever recovered, has shattered our previous understanding of human origins. Discovered in the windswept badlands of the Turkana Basin in northern Kenya, this 2.02 million-year-old fossil is not merely another data point. It is a Rosetta Stone for the early Pleistocene. With a preservation level rivaling the famous Lucy, this new specimen has forced a rewrite of the textbooks, presenting a creature that is at once more primitive and more advanced than we ever dared to imagine. The Handy Man has been redefined, not as a simple stepping stone in a linear march of progress, but as a complex mosaic creature, a survivor who navigated a world of giants and monsters, with a body built for two worlds. The story of this groundbreaking discovery began quietly back in 2012, in the scorched sediments of the Kubi Fora Formation. A team led by the legendary Mary Leakey of the Turkana Basin Institute was surveying a ridge of eroding sandstone when a glint of mineralized bone caught the light. What initially appeared to be a nondescript fragment of a long bone quickly revealed itself to be something far more significant. Excavation is a slow, painstaking process, often measured in millimeters per day. But as the weeks turned into months, the team realized they had struck gold. Unlike the isolated finds typical of the Rift Valley, where you might find a jaw here or a femur there, this individual had died and been buried rapidly. This quick burial protected its skeleton from the ravages of scavengers and time. Dr. Fred Grein, the lead author of the landmark study published in the Anatomical Record, recalled that they kept finding bone after bone. First came the arm bones, then the shoulder blades, then ribs, vertebrae, and parts of the pelvis. It was the kind of discovery researchers dream about, but never expect to actually make. The skeleton, painstakingly reconstructed over more than a decade, is approximately 60% complete. Crucially, it includes elements that have been missing from the Homo habilis record for half a century, including a complete arm and shoulder girdle, significant portions of the rib cage, and a well-preserved pelvis. Radiometric dating of the surrounding volcanic ash layers placed the fossil firmly between 2.02 and 2.06 million years ago, making it one of the oldest representatives of the species. But the true shock came when the bones were cleaned, measured, and assembled. KNM-ER 64061 was not the creature we thought we knew. The standard narrative of human evolution describes a gradual shedding of ape-like features, with arms getting shorter, legs getting longer, and the body becoming adapted solely for life on the ground. This new skeleton throws a wrench into this smooth machinery. Perhaps the most startling feature is its upper body. The humerus, or upper arm, and the radius and ulna of the forearm are exceptionally long and robust. When compared to the body size, the arm proportions are strikingly similar to those of Australopithecus afarensis, the species Lucy belonged to, which lived 1 million years earlier. Dr. Ashley Hammond, a co-author of the study, explains that the forearm is incredibly long relative to the upper arm. This is a feature scientists associate with climbing. It gives the leverage needed to hoist the body up into the canopy. To see this in a member of the genus Homo, a species we define by its ground-dwelling adaptations, is a revelation. The finger bones, previously hinted at by earlier finds, are curved and backed by powerful muscle attachments. This was a creature that could hang, swing, and grasp branches with a strength that would shame a modern Olympic gymnast. However, if the top half of the skeleton looks back to the trees, the bottom half looks forward to the open road. While the leg bones are not as complete as the arms, the preserved pelvic fragments and the proximal femur tell a different story. The shape of the hip joint and the orientation of the muscle attachments suggest a bipedal gait that was far more efficient than that of the Australopithecines. This is the definition of mosaic evolution, where different parts of the body evolve at different rates. Homo habilis was not a compromise between ape and human. It was a master of both domains. It possessed a dual-purpose chassis, with legs capable of efficient long-distance walking to scavenge for food on the savanna, and arms capable of rapid escape into the safety of the trees. Another major revelation concerns the size of the species. For decades, Homo habilis was considered the runt of the early human litter. Based on fragmentary evidence discovered in 1986, scientists estimated the species stood only about 3.5 to 4 feet tall, with a stature similar to that of a chimpanzee. This small size supported the idea that habilis was barely removed from the Australopithecines. The new find has completely overturned this assumption. Based on the length of the intact humerus and the reconstruction of the spinal column, this individual stood approximately 160 centimeters, or 5 feet 3 inches tall. This is a massive jump in our estimates. Dr. Grein notes that we are looking at an individual that rivals Homo erectus in height. It suggests that the increase in body size, which we previously thought occurred later with erectus, actually began much earlier in the habilis lineage. However, the skeleton is surprisingly gracile. Despite the height, the estimated body mass is only around 30 to 33 kilograms, or roughly 67 to 72 pounds. This creates a picture of a very tall, very lean creature. This lanky build might have been an adaptation for heat loss in the scorching African sun, similar to modern Nilotic peoples, but combined with the muscular density required for arboreal climbing. The implications of this anatomy are profound for our understanding of Homo habilis behavior. We must abandon the image of a primitive, stooped scavenger, skulking on the fringes. This skeleton paints a picture of a dynamic, athletic opportunist. The persistence of climbing adaptations in a 2-million-year-old Homo species suggests that trees remained a critical part of their life. Why? The answer likely lies in the predator-rich environment of the Pleistocene. Recent studies analyzing bite marks on other fossils using artificial intelligence have confirmed that these early humans were heavily preyed upon by leopards and saber-toothed cats, like Dinophilis. They were not the top of the food chain, they were lunch. As Dr. Manuel Dominguez Rodrigo notes, the handy man was also the hunted man. In a landscape crawling with giant hyenas and big cats, the ability to vertically escape in seconds was not an evolutionary leftover, it was a survival necessity. This individual likely spent its days foraging on the ground, using its efficient bipedal stride to cover large territories in search of carcasses, tubers, and raw materials for tools. But at night, or at the first sign of a predator, it would retreat to the canopy. This dual lifestyle explains the retention of the long, powerful arms. And, speaking of raw materials, let's consider the hands that earned this species the name Handy Man. The association with Oldowan stone tools, simple flakes and choppers used to butcher meat and smash bones for marrow, is well established, but the new discovery offers insights into the hands that made them. While the fingers were curved for climbing, the thumb morphology confirms a powerful precision grip. This unique combination, the power grip of a climber and the precision grip of a toolmaker, represents a unique adaptive peak. They could wield a hammerstone with devastating force to crack a wildebeest femur, yet possessed the fine motor control to slice hide with a razor-sharp flake. This dexterity supports the theory that Homo habilis was an obligate scavenger. They were likely stealing meat from kills made by larger carnivores, a high-risk strategy that required speed, intelligence, and the ability to quickly process a carcass and retreat to safety before the original owner returned. Perhaps the most controversial aspect of the discovery is its impact on the human family tree. For a long time, the classic progression taught in every classroom was linear. Australopithecus evolved into Homo habilis, which evolved into Homo erectus, which evolved into us. This new skeleton puts the final nail in the coffin of this simple lineage. The dating of this skeleton at 2.02 million years ago places it squarely in a time period where it coexisted with Homo rudolfensis and, crucially, the earliest forms of Homo erectus. We now have indisputable proof that Homo habilis and Homo erectus lived side by side in the same lake basin for nearly 500,000 years. Dr. Leakey suggests they were not father and son, but sisters. Two distinct lineages attempting to solve the problem of survival in different ways. Homo erectus committed fully to the ground, growing larger brains, abandoning trees, and likely becoming active hunters. Homo habilis, as represented by this new skeleton, maintained a hedge against risk, keeping the arboreal escape hatch open while exploiting the terrestrial scavenging niche. This suggests that Homo habilis might not be our direct ancestor at all, but rather a successful, long-lived side branch that eventually went extinct, a cousin who retained the old ways, while erectus forged the new path that led to sapiens. In conclusion, the discovery of KNM-ER 64061 does not just fill a gap in the fossil record, it fills Homo habilis with life. We no longer see a fragmentary shadow, but a tall, lean, athletic creature. We see a being that walked with a human stride but swung with an ape's power. We see a toolmaker who lived on the knife's edge of survival, balancing the rewards of the ground with the safety of the trees. The Handy Man was more than just a bridge. It was a masterpiece of evolutionary design, a specialized survivor that thrived for hundreds of thousands of years in one of the most hostile environments Earth has ever known. As we gaze upon this reconstruction, we are not just looking at a pile of bones. We are looking at the complexity of our own origins, reflecting a time when being human meant more than one thing. The ghost has finally found its body, and it is more spectacular than we ever dared to dream. Thank you for listening to G Fun Facts Online.